I recently had my daughter staying with me for a week, and it was incredible. We always have a great time. But I was going through a period where I've been collecting old media, especially Blu-rays, DVDs, and getting back into old things. Like I've been collecting vinyls, even while she was with me. I've got an Xbox One X, not the Series X. I got the older Xbox, and to be honest, we was enjoying that, and it opens up a can of worms. The reality is that we perceive technological advancements as progressive, but sometimes it's actually regressive. It sets us back. We actually lose a lot of our freedoms that we don't realize until it's gone. And also, the things we maybe enjoyed in the past, they're no longer available in the future, or they get edited and changed, altered. It's not good. It's just not good. So as soon as you start really going back in time and appreciating previous physical medias, hardware, all sorts of things, you truly appreciate how they operated and the opportunities it gave you. So yeah, we've got streaming nowadays, on demand, all sorts of things, but it's nicely better. Effectively, things are getting curated for us and shown us in a way for us to be manipulated. It's quite crazy. Everything's becoming too expensive. You're relying on that streaming service. So, for instance, if you're struggling for money one month or for a few months, whatever it is, if you're struggling at all, you lose access to all the content. You was plowing money into nothing. That's effectively what it was. Um, Now, obviously, there's positive and negatives to anything. If you look at my headphones, for instance, if we look towards the future, we've got noise cancelling and they're Bluetooth, so they're wireless. A freaking huge advancement. It's brilliant. I absolutely love that. I have a wireless keyboard for my computer. It's absolutely beautiful. You can even turn the volume up and down just by wobbling that. It's cool. You can also make it wide if you choose to. So it's not to say that all technology is bad, but we can look towards the past and I think really start to appreciate it. So for me personally, I think I was very fortunate to have a childhood in the years that I did, and that's just from a technological standpoint, it was beautiful. It was towards the tail end of vinyl, where CDs and cassettes were the thing. So beginning of the 90s, we was doing cassette tapes. By the end of the 90s, we were transcending into CDs, even mini discs. That's a thing. And of course, we transitioned from VHS to DVD, and eventually, of course, we've gone on to Blu-ray and all sorts of things and streaming. But through that period, I got to witness it all. And for my favorite era is the 90s. In terms of music, I do love a lot of the 80s, but in terms of eras, I love the 90s because the 90s was everything. The birth of the internet, I think it actually started in the 80s. It was getting developed, but 90s is when it was implemented. And I was there at school when we had these blue floppy disks for the computers, and they were terrible. It's so basic, the screen. It was pretty much just a black screen with green text. It was like, that's what it was. By the time reaching high school, Windows had come out, and you're starting to use word processors and PowerPoint, but literally using about 4 pieces of software for your entire computer course. It was crazy. Of course, things have changed a lot since then, but you get to see the birth of it and we get to see how it's growing. So my daughter's with me and she's seeing my DVD collection thriving and she's getting curious. And I'm introducing her to content that maybe she wouldn't have seen, or she's always saying that, like, I like the movies you like, and she actually likes the music I like, which is nice. But I wanted her to sort of see for herself that how beautiful it can be to own things rather than rely on a streaming service, because the licenses can fade, publishing rights change. Maybe someone, so we saw it with TikTok before, where content was taken down, and that can happen. So by owning the content, you always have access to it free of charge once you've bought it. Of course, there's an upfront cost, but it's for the rest of your life. That's the part people don't understand. It's for the rest of your life you have this content, and it's actually beautiful. So she was getting excited. She was getting really into DVDs and things. I gave her my external DVD drive that she can attach to her MacBook, and I invested in the Xbox, like I said, because it gave an option to watch movies in her room if she chose to, away from the streaming services. We then went to CEX in the UK. It's a second-hand place, a bit like GameStop, I guess, but it's like for movies and DVDs and games and all sorts of stuff. But she got to see what it was like as a child, when I was a child, going to a video shop and renting a movie. But nowadays, the price is so cheap, you don't just rent the movie, you get to keep it, which is even better. And you just get to look at the list that's available. So she's going from scrolling through and she goes, I like this film. And she's collecting them. And now she's gone absolutely mental collecting them. She's gone back home to her mother and she started ordering and buying even more DVDs. Now she wants CDs. She even said with me she wants vinyl. Fortunately, I had another vinyl record player. that was spare, has CD built into it. So at my home, she has the whole lot in her room now. She has Blu-ray, DVD. She has a gaming console. She has streaming services. She has CD. She has vinyl. The only thing she's missing is VHS, but she don't really need that. But that's more for me, for my nostalgia. Slightly nostalgia, but there's another point to it. Talking fast because I really want to get through this without delaying people too far. So I did a video. What I really wanted to do was get a hands-free camera and show things, you know. But I don't. When you're using your phone, for instance, it's so hard from an iPhone to get the content onto your computer. It's a whole mission. If I had a really good setup, I could have the memory card, plug it into the computer, and boom, I can start doing some edits. I don't have that. So what I've had to do was pre-do a video that I've done here on TikTok, and I just made it private, and I'll just play it a little bit. You start seeing my collection a little bit. Like, for instance, in this image here at the bottom, in the middle there, you see the CD player. It's also got mini disc built in. It's also got phono in and out, so you can have everything going through this stereo. So I can listen to my vinyls, my CDs, it go out my speakers. I can listen to my TV, it'll go out my speakers. My gaming can go out the speakers. All these things. It can literally become the hub. In the top left there, we've got a DVD Blu-ray player. On the right, we've got an Xbox One X. You can also play DVD, Blu-ray, and Ultra HD. That's only there because my daughter's not home at the minute. When she comes home, back in her room, it's hers. I bought it for her, not me. And that's a VHS player in the middle, so play our video cassettes. So anyway, I'm going to play that while I talk a little bit because I've got some things I just wanted to show, and it may interest people. You might go, you know what? I'm curious about that. Same way I am. I find it exciting. So I've muted the video though, so you can't really hear it, but we'll play it. It should start. There you go. So what I wanted to get to the point really is that although technology changes, and like I said, we've got Wi-Fi, we've got wireless headphones, noise cancelling, beautiful. But think about this. This typewriter, for instance, you look at the bottom screen now, bottom right. I've got 3 typewriters. This is the oldest one I have. This is, I believe, 1918 or 1916. I can't remember now. I had figured it out. Actually, at the back of it, I've got a patent. It says patented, patented in 1913. The first patent, and it goes all the way up to 1917. So that would suggest that this one is 1917, because you wouldn't have a patent and then it would stop on the one you are on. So this is 1917, 1918 then. And what's beautiful about this typewriter is that it's portable. This is, back in the day, it's over 100 years ago, and it was like, let me see if I can do this, because I'm not sure if I've locked it all up now. There you go. It's actually portable. You could take it around with you 100 years ago. Now, what makes this great? It doesn't require electricity. There's no internet. Everything is very much, you're firmly in control of your product. And I think that's really something to take away with this, because too much we're giving away our freedoms, like I said. And you're so reliant on things. We're reliant on the electricity to fuel it. And the internet, for the most part, when we create content on our laptops and our computers. Now, we talk about portability. Of course, laptops have, we can put it in airplane mode, and laptops do have a battery, so it's quite beautiful. And I'd say the advancement there has been incredible, but there's still something quite beautiful and profound about old technology. And the one thing I want to say is, yes, technology's evolved and it's complicated, but I wouldn't say technology of old isn't complicated either. If you look at this carefully, you've got all these, I don't know what the hell you would call them. I mean, pegs? I don't know. But they've all got like letters on them, and they've got different letters in terms of uppercase and stuff. So if you press the corresponding key and you press another one, the mechanism would adapt to that. Also, what I find curious is when you type, the bar moves on its own automatically as you type. So that's, again, it's progressive of its time. It's incredible. The spool moves with it, you know, all these little things when it's working. If it's not, of course, it goes haywire. But what you will actually notice when you own one is how complicated it is. If I close it now, and it's not uncomplicated at all. I mean, I'm trying to find the right angles to show here. There's so many sort of spokes and springs and sort of cabling that goes into this, to the point where if something broke, I don't think it's that simple to figure out the part that's broke. So is that not complicated? I think that's complicated. And I think they're incredible, and over 100 years ago. So, like, why should we forgo it and forget it and say it doesn't exist because everything else in the future is better? I don't think it is. I don't think everything in the future is always better. That's my personal opinion. So, like I was saying about music, for instance, we got CDs. Now, I know it seems obvious, but I could say everything's obvious that I know. But there's a whole generation right now that are getting exposed solely to streaming content. They put their TV, they've got a smart TV, and they just run everything through there. They don't know any different. They don't know that you can literally get a CD, take it out of its case, put it in the CD player, and now you have access to the music, and you get the cover you can look at. You literally have a personal attachment to it. You've took the time to select it. You look at it, and back in the day, we would listen to the whole album. And what I find quite is curious within myself is that a lot of my favorite songs are obscure songs. If someone hadn't listened to the album, they wouldn't know that song exists. So you miss an awful lot of music when you just go through streaming services. Again, it's curated. What's the most popular songs based on what other people are choosing? Again, because none of them listen to the albums. So they only ever know the same songs. So you miss so much. And like I say, let's say I like Luke Combs. Let's say Luke Combs has a licensing problem in the future. Like he doesn't want his music out or the company changes providers. They boycott one of the systems. Let's say Spotify gets boycotted. I mean, Garth Brooks has done that now. He's only available, I think it's on Apple Music, is it? Or Amazon? I think it's Apple. I can't remember. It's one of them. But he's only on one of the providers. And that's an example, of course. But of course, if you own the CDs, you listen to it whenever you want. So if my services go down, my internet service goes down, the provider has an issue, anything goes wrong, I'll always have access to this. You can never remove it from my home. That's one way. So we've got Blu-ray, of course, same sort of thing. Discs inside the same way the DVDs are. So it looks exactly like a DVD. It just has Blu-ray written on the side, of course. And the picture quality for me is almost as good as Ultra HD through streaming, just because of the higher bitrate of physical media. It's incredible and it sounds great. And I'm like, this is amazing. But we've been so ingrained to get rid of physical media that we should just switch over to streaming. And what we find with streaming services, we're finding that it's not that a lot of movies are not available, music not available, and you're tied to these subscriptions that keep increasing in price. So I know it becomes a bit like this, but my daughter's seeing it for herself, and she's actually truly enjoying collecting. So she's gone on this massive DVD spree. Because even I thought DVDs were terrible. I was like, I don't want DVDs. I just want to upgrade everything to Blu-ray. Then I started seeing her watching her DVDs, and I'm like, to be honest, that looks all right, doesn't it? That looks fine, especially on a smaller screen. Expand it to 60-inch, yeah, you notice the flaws. Bring it down to about 45-inch, it looks absolutely fine. So anything lower than that gets compressed in size anyway, and it looks beautiful. So she's gone mad collecting all her favourite ones because I want to get rid of some of the platforms, like Disney. Let's just get the Marvel films. Let's just get the Disney films. Let's just get rid of it because then we can just buy them as they come out or when they get discounted. In the long run, you don't have to keep investing. So what was I saying? I was saying about certain films are not available anymore. If you're on a streaming platform, you'll never see it. I can only talk about the UK because I'm in the UK and I don't know what America's like. But The Abyss, for instance, you cannot, from my understanding, you cannot get this on. I don't think you can get it on Blu-ray. And you definitely can't get this on streaming services in the UK. You can't even buy it through the streaming services because sometimes Prime has it where you can buy them. I've not seen The Abyss anywhere. You can get it on VHS, I think, but you can't. VHS and DVD, I think, is the only way. And again, that's only one example. Now, let's think of other films that wouldn't be available. And what it is, I believe, is there's a crossover. I haven't checked the date of this, but I wouldn't be surprised. I think 2005 was the last DVD. If it's in the late 90s. 1989. Okay. So that's crazy. But that's not, why is that not available? It doesn't make sense. But the quality is still good, and you've got these beautiful collections where you get to physically, once you've got enough of them, which I showed through the video there, is once you've got enough and they're in your collection like this, it's like there's a load of them. Now you've got a catalogue. Now it's like you're in your own video store. And I absolutely love that. And again, our children are not witnessing that. They're not understanding what it was like to go to a video store. If anything, they just think it's prehistoric and dated. And it's like, actually, it's a fun place to go. There's not many fun places to go in this world, let's be honest. It's become incredibly boring. Nobody's going anywhere anymore. Everything's just getting given to us. I mean, I can attest to that. I'm like that now. I have my food delivery sent to me now. All sorts of things like that. And it's like, it's nice to go places, and just go and look up movies and things. I enjoy that. And it's just, like I said, go CEX. It's like you get to own it anyway, so there's no losing with it. It's brilliant. That gets me onto VHS. Now, it was a gamble for me. I plugged my VHS player in. I had to get an adapter that upscales it, I think, because I just didn't have a socket in my telly. And it got me thinking, like all the films I remember from my childhood. Again, the latest generation just wouldn't know they exist. Why would they? But I knew it because I went to the cinema. I saw the Indian in the Cupboard in the cinema. I've got a few other rare films now. When I say rare, I know they're rare. In the UK, you cannot get these on DVD. So you can't get them on Blu-ray, and they're not available on streaming. This come out the same year, because me and my daughter was doing a little bit of research after, come out at the same time as Toy Story. So that's quite curious that they're both got released in the literally same year, or just a year apart, or whatever. But it was so close that they'd both been in development. So effectively, this boy opens a cupboard. It's got like a magical cupboard. He puts a toy in the cupboard, and then when he opens the door again, he turns the key, opens the door again, the toy comes to life. You put it back in there, turn the key, it's back to a toy. It's stiff as a board. But it's so good, and I remember this from childhood, and you can't get it anywhere else. So fortunately, me owning this, I was able to introduce her to it, and she actually liked the film. We actually really enjoyed watching this, and she was like, "Oh, that was really good." Like, I'm surprised. She was surprised. And that's the thing. It's like we're losing so much of history. We're losing so many things, and there's no need for it. And you start to build your own video collection. So I'm starting to build a Blu-ray collection. My daughter's building a DVD collection and CDs. I've already got a CD collection, and I'm turning my DVDs into Blu-rays for the most part. I'm also collecting vintage VHS and also vinyl records. Now they're huge, and like we're talking about technological advancements here. When the needle goes around this, of course, your speakers amplify the sound, so the sound quality is incredible. But what happens here is that when your needle goes round on the record disc on the player, the needle actually makes a noise. So even if you have no speakers or headphones plugged in, you'll still hear a tiny noise coming off it, and it's the music, and it's quite incredible. It's like how, and this is where it all comes to be. No matter what technology you're using, whether you're using a video cassette, whether you're using a Blu-ray or DVD, whether you're using vinyl records, even the internet itself, it's technology. Even the typewriter, for instance, it's crazy how even how it works now. It's like, how can that needle go across something and make that noise? So then it even begs the question to me personally: is how the hell does a video player tape work? Now, considering how old videotapes are. And another thing I've seen people saying is videotapes only last, they degrade, they only last so many years. DVDs only last so many years. Well, how the hell have I still got them then? That DVD is 1989, it says. Well, at least the film released then. I think if it says copyright, it might be released. I'm not sure. Then we've got a video cassette from 1996, it says. So, I mean, I'm not going to start doing too much maths. I think like 30 years nearly here. And it plays. So, what are we talking about here? I show a little bit here because hopefully people can see it. Well, obviously, having videotapes as a child, we know, because what we know is videotapes, because the tape quite often could get jammed. So you'd go to pull the cassette out of the video player, and it'd be like stuck, and you're like, "What is this?" And the tape all of a sudden unwounded and got stuck in the tape. Again, this is for people who haven't used a VHS before. So what it is, you get this roll, goes from one end to the other. You can fast forward or not. If you've got it in play mode, a bit like on the screen now, if you press fast forward or rewind, it does it slowly. If you stop the tape and then press fast forward or rewind, it goes incredibly fast. So that's just how you had to fast forward and rewind. Sometimes it was like bit. And the same with cassette tape. Unfortunately, I don't have music cassettes. But anyway, you press this little tab on the corner here. There's a little tab, and it opens up the spool really. So you can see the frame, the tape itself. It's a bit like when you go cinema and they've got that tape reel. Now, I can understand how you would get video on it, because if you shine a light into that, it would probably illuminate it, and there's mirrors or something. I don't know how it works. I mean, I'm just guessing. But how the hell you get music off it? I don't know. Sound. For me, it's mad. But it's incredible. So I think the reality is the way that these move is similar to the typewriter, how it had spools each side and it moves. So tape. So I just think every piece of technology has had its day, but we shouldn't always forget about it, because I think they all serve a purpose. Like I say, the video quality for VHS, at least through the way I'm doing it with the upscaling thing, I've got the adapter. It looks fine. Up close, yeah, it looks a mess. And sometimes you get the fraying in the video like we used to get. You get bitty bits looking on the screen. But for me, that makes it vintage in the same way a vinyl record hisses. So yeah, I like it. It's endearing. Let's just move this for now. So that takes me on to the fact that I chose to get my daughter an Xbox One rather than a Series X. I've owned all of them, the PS5, Series X. I got fed up with them. The reality is this generation of gaming on consoles, there's not much different to the previous generation. There's not been enough advancement. I'm a PC gamer, so that makes me digital, which is frustrating because I do like to have physical media. I don't want to go too far with the consoles because there's so many variations, but I got the best one of the last generation, which surprisingly came with a controller when it weren't supposed to, so we got an incredible deal. So what I want to show is these games a little bit here, because this is incredible. Now, if you're only going to play games nowadays, let's say you go digital only, you're going to miss a lot of content. You literally had Guitar Hero back in the day. You'd have the guitar and you'd strap it on. It's a bit like what you do with VR now. There's a lot you can do with VR, but it was incredible. You'd have the physical guitar. But one game that stands out to me that I absolutely adore, and it got discontinued, is Lego Dimensions. And we had it on the Xbox 360, upgraded it to the Xbox One, but of course, we've still got both versions. Now, if you're digital only, you'll never have access to this because you effectively, what you have to do, it needs the disc, of course, because it's disc there, it is the disc only. You'd have, this would plug into your USB port on your, the cable's huge. Okay, suppose you had to because the platform. You would plug that into your Xbox and you would put a corresponding character on it. And so for instance, we've got E.T., incredible. So even just E.T. as a Lego figure, if you was just using Lego anyway, is incredible, let alone a game. So you can play it as a Lego, it comes off the piece if you choose to. So in any game, any universe within the game, it could be Wizard of Oz, it could be Harry Potter, it could be The Simpsons, it literally could be anything and everything in that game. It's incredible. And you would literally just put your character on there and that would spawn into the game. It would just appear because it knows it by this thing. It was incredible. And I think it's timeless. I love it. And unfortunately, I only have it on Xbox. I only have the Xbox games. So if I have a PlayStation, for instance, I'd have to get the whole board again. That the board it goes on doesn't work with the other consoles. You have to get the unique board for it. I think it was available on the Wii U as well. But just to show how cool it is, if you look on the camera on the bottom there, we've got E.T. I mean, it's just some of them. We've got most of the collection. We get very lucky because it's going to be, it's so rare now. Ghostbusters. We've got one of the Goonies, the Goonie guy. Homer Simpson. We've got Bart and Homer. I think you can get Marge as well. We haven't got Marge. Gizmo from Gremlins. We've also got the bad guy from Gremlins. Load of these vehicles. This is the Ghostbusters one, but we've got the train from Harry Potter. We've got all sorts of things. We've got Harley Quinn and her vehicle in it. There's a helicopter I think she has, and it kills absolute craziness with rockets. And that's just one of them. That come out after Disney Infinity. The Disney Infinity was a game too that had that, and you had all the Disney characters. We literally got Wreck-It Ralph. But again, away from the game, it's a cool little character to put on your table or something, isn't it? But literally, again, this would fit. I haven't got the thing. I don't know what I've done with it. It's going to be somewhere, scattered somewhere. But you'd put that down, of course, play the game. But if we go so far into the future, we lose access to these games, and I just find it incredibly sad. So what I've been doing, really, you could say reminiscing and reliving the past. But in all honesty, I think a lot of it in the past was better than it is today, and I anticipate for the future. I'm just seeing us losing so much control of the media we enjoy, and I'm getting a bit worried about it, to be honest. I think games are going to, like, even in gaming, I think games are going to get there's going to be licenses or time limits, and I wouldn't be surprised if games just start disappearing from our libraries to keep us reinvesting, to keep us spending. And I think it's important that we get control of everything back, so we have everything available as and when we want. But like I say, I think there's something beautiful about just going through your collection. If you've got a lot of physical media, you can just go and... I think gaming gets a bit... In all honesty, for me personally, collecting physical media games isn't really a passion of mine because they don't age very well. They do now. If you're going from now to the future, yeah, but I think they're cancelling it out now. I don't think the next generation may even have it because if you look at the way the consoles are going, they're going discless anyway. But the games fade a little bit, some of the qualities in the eras, but DVDs and Blu-rays don't, and I think that's a great thing to be collecting. Like I introduced my daughter to things like Abbott and Costello, Laurel and Hardy. Now, whether she was impressed, I don't know, but I still introducing her to it because it's like, they're the staples of comedy. A lot of the comedians now, I look and I recognize the comedic actors, that a lot of their inspiration come from them. And she got to see that. Smokey and the Bandit, I was showing her. She was enjoying that. And again, it was just a case of don't always think the past is worse, because I think that's where the problem is. It's like, just because the movies or they look a bit more vintage, they don't look as fun. Once you open your eyes to the story and the actual actors, it's incredible. Because again, that's what I'm instilling in my daughter. I'm saying, look, if these actors had been around now, they would be incredible. So don't just think it's rubbish because it's old, because they were great. Abbott and Costello, for instance, in the current generation, they'd be heads above everybody in terms of comedy. So it's sometimes just appreciate what they were able to do with the tools they had. But yeah, anyway. So like I say, I've been collecting, or getting back into collecting. I still embrace the new, like I said, I got the headphones here. I'm a PC gamer, so I am progressive. I'm sort of keeping up with the current times, current trends, enjoying content how I can. but it's not tying myself artificially to it. If I look at Disney Plus, for instance, it's great if you've got nothing to start with. It's like that's a lot of content for very little money. But then you're thinking they keep putting the price up, and in a year's time, do I really want to keep paying? Eventually, it'd be like £20 a month. Do I want to pay £20 a month just to watch that movie when I could have owned that a long time ago, relatively cheap, and I could have had a huge. By the time you've invested a year's worth of money into that, you could have an awful lot of content. And I'm hearing a lot of people saying, well, I'm seeing some content online where pre-owned is getting a lot harder to get. So it may reach a point where physical media becomes so rare that you might not even be able to invest in it in the future anyway. Because I think what's really happened here, we had a period where we transitioned from physical media to streaming. So many people, including myself at one point, was removing a lot of physical media. So there was so much on the market, it was cheap, but there was so much of it. But now people the ones who have physical media for the most part are holding on to it. They're literally maintaining their media, so there's less of it being circulated because the stuff that was available has already been available and other people have already grabbed it. That doesn't account for everything, but I think it's going to get harder and harder in the future. So I think now is the best time to grab things while it's still there, and introduce your children really to maybe parts of your childhood and that weren't bad. I think, to be honest, the world's in some ways, I think it's going backwards. I think life was far more fun. It was more enjoyable when we had less technological advancements. And that's what I think. I think we're making people more reclusive, more bored, and more attached to not just streaming services. It's just the way everything is now. Everything's just there to hemorrhage money. You're just forever like hemorrhaging for no reason, and it's like people will be like, "Oh, well, I have to." It's like you don't really. I'll just walk into the room and I'll just pick a film off the shelf and I'll put it in. Just something simple as that. I'll enjoy the music to my taste because I own it. And if there's a year I don't want to spend money, I don't have to, do I? But I've already got a huge library I can count on, and actually enjoy it. And I don't have to have a platform telling me whether it's available. Curate a playlist. But yeah, there's some stuff that would get missed if you leave that behind. Like, for instance, Netflix are making exclusive content, but I'm just drawing a line saying I don't give a shit. If you're going to make it exclusive, it's exclusively out of my reach because I don't want to keep tying myself to your platforms anymore. I've seen things say where Blu-rays and DVDs may be getting eradicated. They may go, and I think that's quite sad. But it just means, of course, we can only follow what's available. But I think at the same time, it's like keep hold of what we can for now. But yeah, like I say, I've enjoyed my daughter's getting into it. Like, she got into it ridiculously heavy. I didn't think she would. I bought her that 70 show box set, which cost about 30 quid for the entire box set, which is incredibly rare because that should be a lot more money. And that was a risky purchase because I didn't know she'd like it. She'd absolutely loved it. And I said to her, to be honest, not many people in the UK get to watch that. I say UK because I think it's available in America. In the UK, you can't watch that anywhere but disc. If you haven't got that 70 show on disc, you're not watching it. So again, there's a whole generation that don't even know it exists. But it's funny as hell, and she's absolutely addicted to it. Even she said, like, I couldn't just watch one episode. I had to carry on. And it's like, exactly, that's what I'm talking about. I'm introducing her to things that shouldn't be forgotten, but they're getting faded away, And it's beautiful for me to witness her to get really investing. I gave her a One Direction CD that I had. I had One Direction CD. I knew she'd appreciate it far more than I do. So I gave it, and she was absolutely enamored with it. And I'd say now she just wants to get a CD player for her home and continue investing in collecting her DVDs because they look great on yourself, It's personal. And no matter what happens to your internet service, because I had that sometimes the internet, I've got really fast internet, but even that annoys the life out of me on my telly. I don't know if there's a lack of memory on the telly or not, but sometimes you get buffering and it's like, I can't deal with this pausing all the time. It's just driving me nuts. Something as simple as that. Even if you're watching cable TV or something, like in the UK, we've got satellite. If it's cloudy that day, you can't get a signal. What's the point? Yeah. Anyway, it's just like I say, it goes beyond. It goes beyond just gaming and movies and all sorts. We just see it all changing. Just something. Even like I said, something as simple as a typewriter. You don't even need the internet. You don't need the power. You don't need a power cable. You don't need anything. Doesn't mean technology is bad. But it's finding a balance and try not to forget too much about the past because I'm enjoying collecting it, and it's been beautiful watching my daughter collecting it too. and it's something I actively support, and it's nice because she gets effectively she doesn't get to hear about my childhood, for instance, the 90s, what it was like to live in the 90s. She's experiencing it for herself now. We go to the video shop. We could treat it like a video shop, but it's got games in there as well. It's just like it was back in the day. But like I said, you get to keep the discs. You get to keep everything. And I'm like, that's exactly what it was like when I was growing up. You'd go in and pick a movie, you'd have to return it, and then later on, next weekend, you maybe pick another one. It's great. Yeah.